This affects over half Americans. It's also the #1 leading indicator of success in millionaires. It can be expensive, but the alternative is far more so. Tune in to today's episode because I'm going to talk about my 17 years of marriage and the 6 key tangible things I do every week to ensure that that thing stays strong so that I can achieve the things that I want to achieve. Tune in. I know you're going to get value. Guys, today I want to talk to you about the #1 indicator for me for success, the #1 fuel, the #1 driver that's helped me achieve what I've achieved and continues to help me to achieve what I've achieved. It's also something that can very, very quickly take away half of your wealth. It's something that can derail you for years and years at a time. It's something that if you don't get it right, you're going to be doomed to repeat failure over and over and over again. Guys, today I want to talk to you about marriage. And girls, I want to talk to you about marriage, about your spouse, who you've decided to spend life with. And I want to give you 6 things that I do on a regular basis to keep that relationship strong, because it's something that does not just happen. You don't just have a great marriage. It's just like anything else, business, your kids, saving money, investing. It's something that if you are not intentional about doing that, it will go away. It will wither. It will die. So how can we be intentional in this arena, just like we're intentional in the other areas of our life that we feel are very important? And I'll tell you, this is extremely important. If you read The Millionaire Mind, something like 80 to 90% of millionaires are married to one spouse. They stay with their spouse. They have a successful marriage. Satisfaction in life is due in a majority to having a good relationship with your spouse. So how do we cultivate that? What are some tangible things to implement? And for those people that are maybe not married, I want to talk about some of the things that are really important when you're looking for a spouse, to lay those things out, to ask some tough questions, to get on the same page, to see, is this somebody that I'm compatible with? Is this somebody that I want to build a life with? Because the right spouse that is committed to you, committed to the goals that you're both pulling together in the same direction, that is the most important decision that you can make. So I just got back from Las Vegas, Nevada. I was out there for 5 days, literally just got back 2 days ago, and had an awesome time with my wife. It was just us, no kids, and we did it up big. We stayed at Caesar's Palace. We were in the Augustus Tower looking over the Bellagio fountains, which are, shooting up hundreds of feet into the sky. We went to shows. The first night we were there, we saw Michael Jackson, The One, because my wife loves Michael Jackson. We went to Nate Bargatze. He's a comedian who my wife is also a huge fan of. We saw Maroon 5 in concert. We got great tickets, right up there at the front. We went out to beautiful restaurants. We ate at Nobu, which is an awesome Japanese restaurant. If you're ever in Vegas or ever anywhere near a Nobu, I highly recommend you go there. It was incredible. We ran into some friends. We ran into Grace Carpenter and her husband Scott, who were out there for a chiropractic conference. So we went to a little party one night with them and all the chiropractors. It was a fun time, and but really just spent a ton of time eating, drinking, hanging out, laughing, going to shows, and just spending time reconnecting and building that bond back up, because I'm 17 years into this marriage now. And without being intentional about it, it's not going to flourish. And I know that is an extremely important piece of my life, and I want to keep that strong. So how do I do that? Let's dig into the 6 things I want to talk about on that I just do as a habit, as an intentional habit. #1 is intentional trips and time together. So once a week, sometimes we go 2 weeks, we're doing a date night. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. We can just go to Margarita's Mexican restaurant. We just go out to on a little date, couple hours with the babysitter and $100-200 for dinner, and that's our date night. So it's a little investment, not too crazy, but we make sure that happens. And we're intentional about it. My wife's like, hey, we haven't gone on a date in a while, let's go. Or I suggest it and we make it happen. Second thing is, every year we at least go on like an overnight weekend. Something just simple, get out of town. It could be something local, not too expensive, not too crazy, but we're just hanging out together on an overnight, and that's a fun little trip that we do. And then once every 2 years, we're doing a big trip together. We're doing a big trip. We're not taking the kids. We're going for, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. And it's something that we plan. It's something that we think about. Like this Vegas trip, I worked with my assistant. I looked at like what my wife liked to do and wanted to do. I thought through what shows she'd want to see. I thought through what restaurants she'd want to go to. I thought about which hotel she would want to stay at. She'd never been out to Vegas, and I wanted it to be a great experience for her. So I really carefully planned that trip. 2 years ago, we went out to Italy. She always wanted to go to Italy, and I'd never taken her to Italy. And so I saved up, I made it happen. And, in the fall, we went out to Italy and saw the lower half of Italy for 6 or 7 days. An amazing trip, reconnection, totally falling back in love and keeping that bond secure. So I think that's a really important thing, is to be intentional about, hey, you can go on a date. You can take your wife out to Applebee's once every week or two. You can afford that. You can go on overnight, and even if you got to do a longer trip on the cheap, do it. Make the effort, because what's way more expensive than date nights and overnights and even a week-long trip is a divorce. It's a lot more expensive. So spend the money on the relationship now while it's good. Second thing is something that we call couch time. Okay, maybe you've heard of this concept. All couch time is when I'm done with work, whether I'm coming home or if I'm working from home, or just come down, the day's over, we've had dinner. We just sit on the couch for 15, 20 minutes and just talk about our day. What happened? How are the kids today? What's going on in school with little Jennings? Is Heidi doing well in gymnastics? What are you excited about? What are you thinking about? And sometimes, guys, it's great and we have stuff to talk about and we connect. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just like we're tired and there isn't any fireworks there. We're just sort of talking about our day. But it's building a habit of, I care about you. I care about what's going on in your life. I want to communicate with you. I want to connect with you. Because as a female, I'm not a female, but from what I can gather, that connection, that talking to her, that connecting with her, making time for her, it's kind of the closest parallel I can draw is like, it's like sex for a guy. Like we need to have it. We want to have it. We get crabby if we don't have it. And for a female, if she doesn't feel loved and cared about and connected with and talked to and heard and listened to, then she becomes kind of resentful in that manner. It's just as important as you think sex is to her or to you. That's as important as that communication, that couch time, that connection is to her. Conflict resolution. This is a place that you have to focus on. Conflict resolution. Conflicts are going to happen. Fights are going to happen. You're going to disagree about stuff, and sometimes it's really, really big stuff, and it's really, really important stuff. Sometimes it's stupid stuff, You make a stupid comment, or she says something that you think is just disrespecting you, and all of a sudden it's escalating into this big underlying tension, and it's there, right? And you have two ways to deal with that. A really, really common way is to just ignore that, right? Like tempers will cool down, we're going to be fine, I'm going to forget about that, and within a week or two, like everything's going to be back to normal, and we're just going to sort of bury that, right? The problem with doing that, which that's kind of the easy way to do it, it's not the leader way to do that. The problem with doing that is when the next fight occurs, when the next conflict occurs, which it assuredly will, those same hurts, those same anger and feelings of despising your partner, they're going to bubble back up to the surface, and that next fight is going to be supercharged because there's not only that offense right there, there's the underlying offense that was never rectified, and it's coming back up to the surface. And this is how you get to the place where you just cannot stand your spouse. Everything they do pisses you off. They can't do anything right. You're always annoyed. You're always aggravated. And then you start saying things like, well, they've changed, and you actually hate them. And this is how divorces happen. In half of the marriages in America, it happens. Christian, non-Christian, doesn't matter, 50-50 coin flip, whether you're going to make it or not. How do we tilt the odds in our favor? I think a huge one is conflict resolution. Now, I'm cool with parting ways and letting tempers cool down for a time, right? Maybe a few hours, maybe even a day. But to ignore that and not get to the root of that and not say, listen, I'm sorry, even if you're only 2, 3, 4, 5% wrong, how you reacted to that, the thing you said, the attitude you came at her with, what did you do? How can you start that conversation to melt that other person and bring back into relationship each other? Because it's your job. Whether, if you have this attitude of, well, she never apologizes first, and so what? That's your ego talking. Is it really that important for you to be right and alone? And I'm not saying that you should just lay down for your wife and bend over backwards and whatever, and she's never wrong and she's just steamrolling you. And obviously I'm not a marriage counselor, but I have seen where when there are two parties that are driven by pride, driven by ego, when one of them will humble themselves, when one of them will soften the other, come to them with an apology, come to them with a, hey, I can see how you felt that way. Let's talk this through. There is resolution that can happen with two good-hearted people. There's obviously situations out there that I don't know anything about, and this may not apply to everybody, but most people, they don't apologize. They aren't the first to act. They're stubborn, they're prideful, they let their ego become the most important thing, not their relationship, not their wife. And conflict resolution is incredibly important that you do it and don't bury that, because it will not go away. It will only fester, turn into a cancer, and eventually kill your marriage. Number 4, leading your spouse. Leading your spouse. I'm not talking about, I'm in charge, I'm the dominant person, and you need to submit to me. I'm talking about leading your spouse. Talking about conflict resolution, that is a way to lead your spouse. If she doesn't want to, make up with you, you lead that conversation. You work that through. You bring her the flowers. You apologize. You try to make the first step to make it right. But also leading your spouse in all arenas, right? Let's say your spouse is not healthy. Let's say your spouse is overweight. Let's say your spouse is just not doing the right things to take care of themselves. Well, look inward, right? Is that a way that you can lead your spouse? Are you in great shape? Are you 30 pounds overweight? Do you drink too much? Do you eat fast food a couple times a week? Like, what are you doing where you can lead your spouse? I've seen this time and again, where one spouse, one partner starts to lead in that direction. The other spouse looks at them and says, you know what? I don't want to get left behind. They're making positive changes, and you maybe are even going to get some resistance at first, but eventually they want to come alongside of you. They want to get on board with what you're doing. So leading in discipline, getting up early. I quit drinking for an entire year to just, kickstart some momentum with my business. I really wanted to stay focused. And, that was a leadership move for me. Your goals, your ambitions, your spouse wants to see you with ambition, wants to see you with goals. They want to see you lead. They want to see you progress, get better. Are you sitting there scrolling, Instagram for 5 hours? Or are you picking up a book and listening to that or reading that? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you going to conferences? Are you trying to improve yourself? Do you have goals, drive, ambition that she can get behind? She doesn't want you to necessarily focus on her. She wants you to focus on something bigger. She wants you to focus on something bigger where she can come alongside of that, support that, and cheer you on and get on board with that, right? That's a really big issue I see, is a lack of leadership in men, not taking charge and taking the first step, improving themselves, bettering themselves, and just being the leader. Number 5, know them. Know them. Know what they want. Know what they like. Know what's going to piss them off. Know what's going to make them happy. Know what's going to mean something to them. Know what's not going to mean something to them. I remember when I first started dating my wife, now I'm no poet, but I wrote her a poem. And I thought about this poem, and man, that poem was pretty good. You know, I was talking about all the things I liked about her, and I thought it was really, really cool and really romantic. And when I gave it to her, man, it fell flat. Like, it had no effect on her. She did not give a crap about this poem. And I wasn't offended at the time. I was just like, you know, she wasn't mean or rude about it, but it was just like, it just didn't matter to her. Like, okay, that is not her love language, or that is not how she responds to feeling like I care about her. And so what does? And I noticed that Jessica is extremely good at giving gifts. She thinks about people, like she puts it in her brain if they ever say, oh, I want this, or I need this, or oh, my Lego set is broken. I wish I had a better Lego set. And she thinks about that, and then like at their birthday or Christmas or whatever, she's like got this gift prepared, and she's the best gift giver. And I thought, you know what, if that's important to her, and that's how she is showing love to other people, then that's probably important to her, right? I also noticed that like the connections and the time, like she really, really likes to talk to her mom. She's close with her brothers. She spends a lot of time with our kids, tucking them in at night. And just talking to them about their day. And I see, okay, that's another way that she gives love that way. She probably wants to receive love that way. And so knowing her and knowing what she wants. So like when we're out in Vegas, I knew that that was important to her, that for one day she wanted to go shopping. And dude, I hate shopping. If you're anything like me, you probably hate shopping, and it's not fun. And most of the time I'm in the store with her, guys, I'm not great. I'm not here like tooting my own horn, because I'm like, okay, the sooner I get out of here, the less money I have to spend. And I hate this, I don't, but I prepared for it. I squirreled away money for a little while. It's like, okay, I know when we get to Vegas, she's gonna wanna, shop. And so let me just like not be a jerk. Let me have some money set aside, and let me tell her like, hey, go out there and like buy some stuff. And we did, and she loved it, and she's happy about it, and she's going to enjoy the things that she got, and talk about them, and she felt loved by that. And so whereas with me, gift giving, like me receiving gifts, it's not as big of a deal to me. It's just not the way that I resonate, and she knows that about me. I know, okay, at this time, I need to be home so that I can help her with the dinner routine. And I know that if I drag it out, like play pickleball too late, or I'm working too late, or I'm always on the phone until 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, like that's going to grate on her. That's going to wear her thin. So just knowing your spouse, becoming a student of them, like what do they like? What do they not like? It's one of the coolest things about marriage, because everyone's so different, and what they care about, what they don't care about, what they like. And to be truly known and loved and cared for, and to show your spouse or significant other love in that way, it's an incredible thing to keep that marriage strong. And then number 6, last thing, finances. Finances are the top stressor in marriages. The leading cause of divorce is money problems and finance problems. This is another way that you can lead. It ties into leading, but there's two components of this. One is controlling your financing, controlling your finances, like having a budget, having a plan. Because if you're married to a spouse that is, spending money like water, or maybe you're the spouse that's spending money like water, and you think, oh, I can't tell her no, I can't tell my kids no, we need to go on this Disney trip. She needs to get the new car that I really can't afford, so I'm going to put it on $800 a month payments because she's got to have the brand new Suburban. Like, those things are going to pale in comparison if you have money stresses, if you have financial issues. And I'm telling you, as someone who has leveled up income, there is no end to it. There's always more wants and desires than there is money. No matter what level you're at, there's always higher levels, and there's always more ways to waste and spend money, or things to spend money on. And you have to pick and choose, and you have to be careful about what you're going to spend money on and what you're not. And there have been times where I've said, Jessica, baby, we're not doing that. I'm not buying that. We can't afford that, or we can't afford that yet. We're going to be able to afford that, but this is not the time, and we're not doing that. There have been other times where I've had to give in and say, yes, I know this is important to you. We're going to spend the money on that. We have the money. It's fine. But I don't want to get to a point where I gotta say, hey babe, we're gonna struggle paying the mortgage this month. Hey babe, and she's, what do you mean? We just went to Disney World, you know? You got a Lamborghini and you have this boat and all this other crap that you're buying. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I have to keep my financial house in order because I don't want that to become a source of huge marital stress for me. That's one side of the coin, is controlling the financing and budgeting, being responsible with what you spend, not borrowing for tomorrow, for today's pleasures, delaying that gratification. The second piece of that is you need to level up your finances. You need to earn more capital, more money. If you're not making money, why? The world is full of money. The world is full of opportunity. There's tons of it. There's no shortage of it. You're not capitalizing on the opportunities. You're not implementing the ideas and things that are coming across your path to monetize them. And you need to level up your income. And at the same time you're leveling up your income, you're also controlling the other side of the house, which is the outflow, right? The budget, what we're going to spend money on. And in doing that, this is going to help you eliminate these money stressors and keep and protect your marriage. I remember in 2009, 10, when I was going through the ringer, I had a construction company and the economy was falling apart, the Great Recession. I remember talking to my wife and I was scared. And I was like, babe, you know, like I need your help. Like, you gotta work, you gotta help me pay the mortgage and the rent and all this stuff. And it shook her. And she looked at me and she was like, that's not my job. And if you're listening to this, that might be like shocking to you, or maybe you don't think that's the right thing that she should have said. But she's like, I'm not taking that on. That's not my problem. That's not my job. But what it did to me was I had to look inward. I'm like, holy crap. She's right. This is on me. This is my job and this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to level this up and I'm going to make this work. And you know what we did? We clawed our way back out of it. We got back on top, sold the construction company, moved into commercial real estate. And now, you know, money stressors. I mean, there's always money stress. I'm not saying there isn't, but it's not nearly the piece of the equation that it was, because in 2009, 10, it wasn't good. I'm not saying she would have left me over that. She would not have. She committed to me. But at the same time, we weren't in a good place, and it was only because of money stresses. And that's something that I want to insulate myself against by being diligent, by working on opportunities, by capitalizing on my ideas, monetizing them, being wise with my cash that I have, and not overspending to get myself into a situation where I'm bringing that stress back into my life. Moving on to the early advice. If you're not married, if you're looking for a spouse, this is some things that I laid out. I don't know why I thought about this stuff so early, but I did. You know, in my 20s, you know, I'm in college, I'm at Clemson, and I would go on dates, and I dated a few girls, and I would talk to girls at parties, etc. And I would get into it where I wanted to know, like, where are you going? What's important to you? What is your expectation of life? And is it aligning with mine? Whatever they want to do is totally fine. And everyone has a different path, and there's a person for everyone out there. But I kind of knew who I was, where I was going. So there were some things that were kind of, you know, non-negotiable, or I thought would create issues. One was children. It's like, I want to have kids. I knew I wanted to have kids. So if I'm dating a girl that like doesn't ever want to have any kids, or only wants to have one kid, that could become a source of irritation, resentment, and possibly lead to a breakup, because that's an important thing, whether or not you want kids. Another thing was, you know, where she wanted to go in life. I mean, there's women out there that, you know, they want to be the surgeons, the doctors, the lawyers, and God bless them, and we need them. But I knew that I was really going to want to pour it on with the entrepreneurial journey, and I was going to need somebody to come alongside of me and support me, and that's kind of what I wanted. Like, does she want to be a stay-at-home mom? Does she want to support me in what I'm doing? Like, is she going to come alongside of me, or is she going to be pulling in another direction, and I'm going to be having to, you know, chase her coattails? And like, maybe this is not politically correct, but this is something that I thought about when I was dating. And 17 years in, it's like, we know our roles, and that's what she was looking for. She was looking for someone that was going to lead. She was looking for someone that was going to take on the burden of working outside the home, bringing in the money and leading in that fashion. And she was going to take the leadership role with the kids and the household and et cetera. And that worked out because I was what she was looking for. She was what I was looking for. But the point I'm trying to make is being intentional as to what you're looking for. Maybe you want to be an entrepreneurial power couple where you're both working on your business together and building this massive thing like Alex and Layla Hormozi, right? I didn't really want my wife working in my business because I knew that if she was and she got totally entwined in this thing, we wouldn't be able to go out of town for a week or a month or whatever. Like we'd be both building this chaos together and I never would be able to get away with it or away from it. You know, I have an assistant. I want to be able to push stuff on her plate. Well, if my wife's my assistant and I'm pushing stuff on her plate, it's pretty much back on my plate because she's my partner. That's not the life I wanted to build. So knowing what you want in life and getting a spouse that's going to match that. Another thing is like, get on my level. Am I marrying my equal in intelligence? Am I marrying my equal in drive, in abilities? Am I marrying somebody that I feel like equal with? Or am I marrying somebody that's like, well, she's safe, she adores me, she thinks I'm the best thing, and I kind of feel like I'm dragging her along. Like I don't mean to be rude in that way, but when you're with someone that is your equal or, you know, maybe even a little better than you, it's like they challenge you. They're a pursuit. It's a journey. And she has challenged me in so many ways. When my ego's getting too big, when I'm getting off the rails, she's right there to say, hey, you know, be careful, hold off a second. That's not the right way to approach that. And she's not afraid to tell me what she thinks and how it is. And she is my equal in every regard. And that's something that prior to that, I had kind of played it safe with girls. I was just like, oh, well, you know, this is easy. She likes me. Let's just see how it goes. And was never like enthralled by this is someone that's going to challenge me. This is on my level or higher. And then the large items, you know, for me, it's faith. It's like, is she a Christian? Does she have the same religious beliefs as me? Because that's going to bleed over to my kids and how they're raised. And it's also going to affect my relationship with Jesus Christ and God. And like, I want her to be on the same page with me on the faith and religion piece. I think politics is important, you know, like, because how people see their political stuff is sort of the lens of how they see the world. You know, what are their opinions on, you know, the American political scene? And I'm not going to get really deep into that, but it kind of affects the lens of what you think is right and wrong, what you resonate with, what you don't. And if you are with someone who has diametrically opposed political beliefs to you, it's going to be hard to understand them. It's going to be hard not to be resentful of some of those beliefs and arguments, et cetera, et cetera. And if you strongly believe, you know, America's going in the wrong direction under a certain leadership or vice versa, and your partner's on the completely different page as you, like that is going to spur on a lot of strife in your home that you really just don't need. And so I think it's those large items in life are important to have in place. Faith, politics, you know, whether you want kids. I mean, we sort of talk about knowing what you want in life. So those are some things that I looked for very intentionally when I was dating. And so that's it for today. I know this is a little off topic, but coming back off of a week vacation with my wife, I wanted to kind of dig into marriage and how important that is, how to keep it strong day in, day out, doing those habits, implementing those habits. So guys, take the trips, do the couch time, the one-on-one time, resolve conflicts, lead your spouse, know your spouse, and keep your financial house in order. Level up those finances and protect too much flowing out the backside. All right, guys, have a great week and unlock your life. Peace.